both houses of Congress, Democratic women far outnumber Republican women, and the gap has been growing for years. In the past 3 decades, Democrats have increased the number of women representing their party sixfold, while Republicans have not even doubled the number of women they have in Congress. In state legislatures, considered a pipeline for national candidates, the trend is similar. The number of Democratic women has tripled in state legislatures since 1981. But the number of Republican women has risen just 3% in that time. Neither party is close to gender parity, of course, but to get there, women need to run. This year, more than 200 women are running for House races, 151 Democrats and 82 Republicans, according to the Center for American Women and Politics. In Senate races, 29 women are running so far, 17 Republicans and 12 Democrats. Today, we talked to one Democratic woman running for her state legislature, Sandra Fluke, social justice advocate and candidate for the California State Senate, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Why is it important to have women running for office?
Well, because it's important that our elected officials represent our population. That's what's at the core of being a democracy, is having everyone have a voice in government. And that applies not just to women, but to people of color, folks from every ethnic and racial background, LGBTQ folks, the whole panoply of our population.
So you're not new to the public sphere with this campaign, but as you know, running for office is a different aspect of that sphere from where you've been. And I'm wondering what you found that have been the biggest surprise thus far.
Well, you know, I think any first-time candidate will tell you that one of the things that's hardest to see up close is the dire need for campaign finance reform in this country, and that's certainly something I've seen up close. What I've really enjoyed about the campaign is getting to talk more with voters, getting to talk about the policy issues, the really important concerns we're tackling in California.
So I want to come back out to our panel, and Kelly, you first. What can you tell us about the trend of women in the parties over time? Essentially, why have Democrats been more successful than Republicans at attracting candidates? What do we know?
I think, you know, the trend that you mentioned earlier is spot on. Right now we have in the Congress about 30% of the Democratic caucus women, 9% or 8% of the Republican caucus women. And again, that trend line you mentioned is true. We're increasing Democrats, decreasing or flatlining for Republicans. And I think there's two things that are happening. One is infrastructure. And we know when women run, they need to be asked. They need the support. They need both financial support and encouragement. We're not seeing the same infrastructure of that on the Republican side. So you have an Emily's List, you have campaign trainings. I think Sandra's in a state where you have Emerge and Close the Gap, all these efforts to get progressive women to run. We're not seeing the same strength on the Republican side. Though I will say that the Republican women of the House this year, in Project Grow and some efforts that they're doing to try to support women, it's important. The last thing is that Republican women can't get through their primaries. And we found that in our research.
Okay, there's infrastructure, but what about policies?
Well, there's more to it. I mean, this is an issue since the Reagan administration. In 1982, Elizabeth Dole, working for Reagan, is talking about the gender gap and studying it. And it's about policy. And it's not just about abortion issues. It's about economic issues. It's even about government reform issues. And it's something Republicans have struggled with for many decades now. So I think it's the combination of infrastructure and strategy combined with a disconnect between Republican policy right now and where many women voters are. And it's something that's, I think, harmed the Republican Party.
Okay, Robert, how do women attract more? I mean, sorry, how does the GOP attract more women candidates?
Well, two things. One, she's absolutely right. The infrastructure has never been there. You have Ileana Ross-Layton, a Republican from Florida. You have former Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson. You have Olympia Snowe, the current senator from Maine, all talking about this issue and saying, first and foremost, it's about making sure that women get asked.
That's right.
And making sure that women have the support to run for office. But, you know, there's two sides to the coin about policy. There are Republican women out there who disagree with Democratic policies when it comes to women's issues. There are Republican women out there who are pro-choice, or excuse me, pro-life. There are women, Republicans out there who just fundamentally disagree with what Democrats or what progressives say about some policy things. So again, there's two sides to that coin. And a prime example of that is if the current White House would actually pay their women staffers the same as men in terms of pay equity, I think there would probably be a little bit more transparency there in terms of making sure that everyone gets paid what they should be paid in terms of pay equity, what a lot of Democrats are talking about. But I readily admit that the Republican Party needs to do a better job of recruiting more women to the party to run for office.
I want to bring Sandra back in on this. Sandra, you're known for your support of reproductive rights and other issues considered women's issues. How does that frame your candidacy? And do you run as a woman candidate or just as a candidate that happens to be a woman?
Well, I don't know that I have much choice about running as a woman candidate. I think that one was predetermined for me. But, you know, the way I look at it is 50% of the folks in the district that I am working to represent are women, and the rest often live in households that include women. So the kinds of issues that we typically label as women's issues really are important to everyone. When we're talking about affordable access to child care or family leave, two policies that I really want to work on in the California State Senate, those are issues that matter to a lot of the district, and I hear that when I get asked questions about it by men as well. Now, that doesn't mean that these so-called women's issues are the only ones that I'm talking about. Certainly not. I'm also emphasizing things like environmental protection and general job creation, but these are issues that are important to a big slice of the electorate.
Sandra Fluke in Washington, D.C., thank you very much. I promise when we come back, Heather, I will get you in on this conversation. There is one poll item from a recent NBC News survey that has captivated our attention here in Nerdland. It is not the president's approval rating. It is not the economy right track, wrong track numbers. It is not even about the ACA. No, this one is about something different, and we wonder if it could be the key to the midterm election. That's next.